Okay.
Okay, testing.
I see a KK in the house.
Oh goodness, there's a KK. Oh, watch out for that sassy Susie. She's a rough one, that one.
She's trouble.
She's pure trouble. You're just looking for trouble if you mess with her.
So, I hope everybody's having a happy new year wherever you are. I don't know how many people will show up or how many won't. How many people are already inebriated? Are you going to be inebriated? Are you going to partake in any alcoholic beverages? Invite some spirits in.
Yeah, I know this is gonna sound terrible, but it's kind of like, when those who don't normally drink are out drinking tonight. So it's a night that I would really not want to be out drinking. I call it amateur night.
Be very careful because you may be perfectly sober, but the next person may not be. Israel is in the house. Christine Love, Crypto Schizo, Vildan, Tartarian Vagabond. Chris, great to see you, technologically savvy. Claudette Malspina, Happy New Year. Awakened Lightworker Soul, Dana Green, John and Jen, and Chip'ems.
Yes. Oh, yay. And Chip'em. Hi, Chip'em. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Everybody chirp at Chip'ems.
Susan Donahue. Hope everything is good and you got that raft ready. Soggy San Francisco coast, absolutely.
Yes, and Happy New Year, everyone. It's going to be crazy. We got some fun stuff. And we also have a peek down the road. We're not going to do a full year's advance, but we are going to talk about a couple things that I see for sure on the astrology coming up.
Yeah, 2026 is going to be a very interesting year astrologically. And in fact, I would venture to say that the lineup that we're seeing right now astrologically, I think we all are expecting to see some quakes and Vildan. Thank you so much. We think you are amazing too.
Oh, thank you, Veldon. Thank you so much. And as usual, you guys please do hang out till the end. Just a little sneak peek of what we're going to hear a little bit about is a chart called Varshafala in Vedic astrology, because that's what I practice. And I want to say practice and be very humble about it because I don't consider myself a professional at all. But this is the one I like. Thank you, KK. We appreciate you, sweetheart. But this Varshafala chart has to do with the solar year of 2026. And you can do it with people. You can put that on and you can read how someone's year is going to go. And I really like this because it has dates on it, which opens a little bit better window. And I thought, well, if you can do it for people, why not do it for the country? So I did. And thank you, Israel. Happy New Year. Thanks for all the guidance and positivity throughout the year. You are welcome, all of you. It's been our pleasure. It truly has. It's been a wonderful many, many years. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, we started way back in August of 2017, literally right when the first of those eclipses happened. And it just seems like everything went bonkers from that point on. So, yeah, wow. It'll be, we're going to be going into our 9th year? Can it be? Holy cow. Time flies. By the way, guys, I think there's going to be quite a wonderful live tomorrow over on Arwayne Steiger's channel. I happened to see an invitation that went out, and I think it should be a pretty large group that will be partaking. And hopefully everybody can make it. I don't know who was able to make it or not, but it should be fun tomorrow at noon Central over on our Wayne Steiger's channel. And we're also setting something up with another channel that has been so good at giving good positive information to people. And thank you so much, Susan. We love you and appreciate you too.
Thank you so much, Miss Susan. We love you.
Oh boy, kids. Boy, oh boy. What will 2026 bring? I think there's some likely events. I wouldn't be surprised to see some large quakes in the first 2 weeks in reality. But there again, there's so much going on right now. It's just this great awakening. because people are awakening, and even those that didn't have a clue are finally starting to get a clue. Not everybody. Some people will probably technically never wake up because, they'll have that, what would you call it, cognitive denial?
Cognitive dissonance, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, where they just don't want to realize exactly what's been going on. A couple interesting quakes. We do have a 6.0 over in Japan. This is, again, an area that's been very, very busy. As we can see right here, you have the 6.0 and you have a 4.9 and a 4.4. If we look to the last month over here, this area is busy. As you see, 77 quakes in this area. Again, the biggest one was that 7.6. We're watching it. We'll definitely keep eyes on it. I think there was a pretty large M class that occurred. I could pull up Solar Ham. Might as well while we're here.
Yeah, pull stuff up. I gotta say, people have been really feeling this crunch, and I am going to blame it on the upcoming full moon. It is very big. It's like going to be the biggest of big moons, and it's full of a lot of electro activity, and that is bouncing off your body, and we are all feeling it to a certain degree.
So we had an M class 7.1 solar flare. When you look at the KP, it's pretty dead. It's just a little bit over 1 at the moment. But again, we understand the sun is key. It is absolutely key. And it's good to it's good to see the consciousness expanding. We were talking to one of our family members locally here, and in the deep south, going to a church where they talk about the Son of God, and obviously we're talking about Yeshua Jesus, but they're also doing a correlation in a southern church talking about the sun bringing the light of God to us. I think that is a positive sign that people are expanding their minds.
I think it's wonderful. I love that. I mean, that makes me so happy. It gives me so much hope because I do like the churches. I love the people in them. It was a big part of my life for so long until, darn it, I had to go through that awakening, and it just, it kind of ruined the whole party for me. And now I'm just sort of trying to rebuild my life, and I would love to rebuild it around that type of community again.
Community is wonderful, and this is what they're calling a 4.9. Other sources were calling this a 5.3, 15 kilometers northwest of Susanville, California. Again, the West Coast is really soggy. There's a lot of water weight sitting over there, so we're watching closely to see any unusual quake activity. So those two were notable. Otherwise, not so crazy out there. Well, at least as far as that goes. Geopolitically, yes, there's a lot of craziness. How they spend your tax money, there's a lot of craziness. How about this? Trump says construction of a triumphal arch to begin in 2 months. What? Remember, he was talking about, having another World's Fair. Everything that we see is all about the same cycle. I can't help but feel that he's pointing out that history is repeating itself. History is repeating itself. So he said in an interview Wednesday that the construction of his long teased triumphal arch is expected to begin sometime in the next 2 months. That would put the start date ahead of July 4th, 2026, as the White House ramps up preparations for the nation's 250th anniversary next year. Hasn't started yet, starts sometime in the next 2 months. It'll be great. Everybody loves it. They love the ballroom too, but they're going to love the triumphal arch. The proposed structure, modeled loosely on European victory monuments, is one of several high-profile projects that Trump has personally championed as part of the semi-quincentennial celebrations, a sprawling effort expected to include national and local events across the country. He has at times displayed a model of the proposed arch in recent months. It reminds me of the one over in Paris, France. There have been plans to build it by the Lincoln Monument on the other end of a bridge leading to Arlington National Cemetery. He has framed the project as a patriotic landmark meant to honor American history and military service. Critics have raised questions about cost, aesthetics, and whether the executive branch has the authority to unilaterally move forward with such construction in Washington. He's also promoted the UFC event on the White House grounds on June 14th. Again, that's a big one too. I guess the question is, will he be in office June 14th? That's the question. If you had to lay betting odds, I don't know. What do you think those odds would be?
Well, just to give you an idea, talking about this Varshafala chart that I have, one of the main focuses is something called death, but not quite literally death as you would think, but like in tarot, if you get a death card, it's big change. You are fixing to hit some big change. So that's one of the themes, astrologically speaking.
Typically, rebirth, you could look at it in a positive light as rebirth, but it's like a Pluto return type of thing. It means something's going to be different. It's going to be different than it was.
Yeah, it's just, in a Vedic, to translate that from Sanskrit, it just came out death.
Yeah, I love that, Susan, immediately. Arches are tributes to archons. Arch, archon.
Oh, and K-heads too.
Yeah, K-heads too. Yeah, you guys are great. Yeah, you guys get it right away. It's here is what I read into that is we're going into another World War type scenario, and again, it's the same scenario. It just plays out constantly, slightly differently in details, but really the same scenario time and time again. It's like a Groundhog's Day with all this nonstop war and all. And here you go, erroneous HUD payments under Biden. Yeah, there's just so much that, well, I see a lot of people saying we need to just stop paying taxes, period. Because, Eric Doherty says this is a generational betrayal. HUD just found $5 billion in fraudulent payments only in 2024. Under Biden alone, 77 million deceased tenants, 150 million non-existent Social Security numbers, 288 million to excessively high rent. I think, honestly, again, I don't know if it resonated with you guys, but I think no central governments anywhere would be a good idea, because what happens? They just simply, the majority of the money seems to go into personal pockets, pet projects and things where they can just be parasites and leech off of everybody's hard work. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I think also there's a point in pointing this out, because they want to bring in a new system. Yes, they got to have everybody upset enough at the old system to, accept and want a new system. But as long as it's done by the same ultimate control system, then you're not really looking at changing anything but venues and, actors and actresses. It has to be real change. And that's the difference, is now we're in a new Yuga, and people are going to be able to sense when they're being lied to a lot easier. They're going to be able to see into the eyes of the politicians and know exactly when they're lying to us.
That's going to just become stronger and stronger, and it's going to become so relevant this upcoming year of people's abilities coming online. Now, that's not all fine and dandy and good and wonderful, because some people really, really, really go through a hard time when their energetic field comes online, when it comes alive. Some people, they just can't handle it, so they shut it down. But the awakening is really going to happen, and I see a lot more people saying, hey, my family members are actually talking about certain things. So that's a lot. That's way more than we had a few years ago, where all I heard was how alone people felt, and they couldn't talk to their family about anything. But there's bridges starting to build themselves, and that's exciting. So I think we have a lot of that to look forward to too.
Lucid Farms, congratulations on the goat having babies. Yay! There's what's cuter than baby goats? I really don't
We
know.
want pictures. Send us pictures, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is only just a part of it. Boeing awarded $8.6 billion contract by the Pentagon for 25 F-15 jets for Israel, not for us, for Israel. So, wait a minute. We're buying them and shipping them abroad. Yeah, it's our tax dollars. Again, I don't want anything, any money that I am forced to, contribute to the government to be used, to again create more war and havoc and mayhem, ultimately to be used against humanity. The system is just, it's more than broken. It was set up corruptly. And if there was more of a golden age, I know it didn't have a system like we have in place now. There's no way we had this type of system in the golden age, not even close. But again, people think about, well, how about the Tartarian age? What did that really look like? That's an interesting thing to decipher, because I don't view that as happening so much in what I would view as a golden age. It feels like it just kind of ended recently. So, how does, and that's a good subject for a totally different in-depth video or series, because that's a big question. When did Tartaria truly exist? Now, Cindy's gotten that it coincided with other civilizations and cultures. But, again, everything is so distorted. But here you go. It's just 8.6 billion more, heading out for more death and destruction. And it's not even being used by our military. Not that that really, really matters too much in the big scheme of things, because, again, we're all the citizens around the world. Ultimately, we don't have a say in what these politicians do. They ultimately do what they want to do anyway. Think about when we had kings and queens. You never told a king or a queen what to do. They had their advisors, but, peasants didn't have a say. Well, the reality is they made the peasants think they had a say, but they didn't really have a say in the first place. So ultimately, the system's got to go.
It does. We definitely need change. And all this money, how can, just $1 billion here, 8 billion there, 10 billion there. I would just be so happy with like $3 million and a pony. And, life could be, 2 ponies, maybe 3, because if you go riding, you can't leave the other one home alone. So, and some friends to go riding with. So, I think, I don't know. It's like, if all the leaks get plugged, it would be great if we all got a big fat allowance.
Yeah, as we had a little poltergeist activity in the house right now. Yeah. It's like somebody knocked on the wall in agreement there. Yeah. So mentioning there, a few of you were mentioning Princess Diana, her accident right by the arch, the tunnel in Paris, etc. Yeah, was that another archonic thing? It seems like everything is really just one big orchestrated. Sirens are going now in the background. That's curious. It's all one big dramatic psyop, and at the same time, very, very real. How about this? The Trump administration is freezing all child care payments to Minnesota as Somali daycare scandal goes viral. So Department of Health and Human Services on Tuesday announced it has frozen all federal child care funding for the state of Minnesota, citing rampant fraud allegations largely attributed to the Somali community. And you have probably read the serious allegations about the state of Minnesota funneling millions of taxpayer dollars to fraudulent daycares all over Minnesota the past decade. Again, now they're stopping all childcare. And when you look in closer, what's going to be happening? Well, they're going to basically implement a series of actions. And really, technologically, it's very Orwellian. Again, this is just part of that transition. This is exactly how they do it, to using biometric data, facial recognition, eventually maybe quick DNA testing that could be done on an instant. It's it's an understandable excuse, I guess. You could say it's going to get a lot of people that say, well, good, and then they'll say, okay, so now we're going to have to do your smart IDs, your biometric data, and maybe some people will go along with it more because of all this, and because this really hit home for them.
And it's so awful, because still so many people made money off of a thing like this, and so many people were cheated. And what about all the good people that do truly want to give to a good cause with, maybe they were blessed with an inheritance. Maybe they just have extra money and they want to be part of something good, They want to be part of something good. And then this happens, and it only happened just so some other people could pass some laws. I mean, this world is so backwards.
Yeah, so you can see why they do this. I mean, a big part of this is just to create the separation, so that ultimately, again, the history books will put this in there as just another one of the reasons why the left and the right eventually broke up in whatever way that divorce looks like, or why the U.S. empire ultimately fell. Maybe it fell to the BRICS nations. Maybe it just collapsed from within. Again, you could see how all this has been so orchestrated, so planned out, and executed at the same time. And then you see that on the right side, there's a lot of dissension going on now too. So, and of course, each one of these outlets, they have their own agenda underway, and primarily the agenda is just simply to keep us divided. And, again, which party do you want to join? Just join a party. That's all they want you to do, is to pick a side, left or right, Again, if none of the above is the answer, then that's what we need to choose, because it's not within the system, again. But they are really tearing it apart, and they're really creating havoc and trying to make it look like it's disintegrating even from within. Of course, we had Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's stepping down, not going to be in politics anymore, so says. She'll be back probably, unless she's going to go work for the WWE or something. And then now you have Lauren Boebert over here from Colorado. Again, it's trying to show just how much we are, dividing from within. Boebert protested the president's veto of a bill that would have bolstered the water project called the Arkansas Valley Conduit in her state of Colorado. President Trump decided to veto a completely non-controversial bipartisan bill that passed both House and Senate unanimously. If this administration wants to make its legacy blocking projects that deliver water to rural Americans, then that's on them. She hopes the veto has nothing to do with political retaliation for calling out corruption and demanding accountability. So she was among lawmakers who recently pushed for a vote to release the E-files, if you know. Obviously, I know you guys know what that is. Meanwhile, the tensions out there as far as the BRICS nations again and the NATO U.S. side seems to be ratcheting up. If we had to put out a prediction, do you think it's likely that new conflicts will develop in 2026? I think it's likely. I'm kind of almost surprised that it's held off this long. They still have the ability to trigger this. The Polish psychic has seen this, and he sees somewhere around 4 different new conflicts developing this year. In his last live, I think he was picking up on some conflicts that maybe he had never picked up on before as being a potential. I do think we have the power to really circumvent their plans. I think we've done it already a ton of times. I think we would have already had the chaos of a full-fledged World War III underway if it was able to start without, any sort of pushback. But I think people are they're right about ready to kind of kick all government out in many cases.
I think people are really getting tired of it for sure. And please do hit the like. It really helps push us past the shadow banning, which is getting worse. I've heard some things from a few people about just things that YT does. So thank you so much for your guys' support.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Robbie, about the Amelia Earhart files. Supposedly there were thousands that were being released, and I'm not sure what the ultimate result was on that. We'll have to look into that. Here you have 2 Chinese-flagged, very large crude carriers proceeding towards Venezuelan waters despite the U.S.-imposed blockade on sanctioned oil tankers, raising the prospect of heightened tensions between Washington and Beijing over Venezuela's crude exports. The Polish psychic Christoph did see that there would be a direct confrontation in the water, is how he put it. A military confrontation in the water. Whether that triggers the bigger war or not, or if it's just maybe a ship that gets hit or multiple ships that gets hit, it could very likely be because of this blockade that's underway. Shipping data published by Lloyd's List on Tuesday shows the Thousand Sunny is expected to arrive at Venezuela's San Jose terminal mid-January after rounding the Cape of Good Hope. Empty in the southern Atlantic, the vessel, which is not subject to U.S. sanctions, has historically transported Venezuelan Marais heavy crude to China. A second unsanctioned Chinese-flagged VLCC, the Zhengyi, is currently positioned off French Guiana, waiting loading at the same terminal. So Chinese-flagged oil tankers heading to Venezuela to pick up oil and bring them back to China. If something happens to the ships, this would be obviously something that could start a direct conflict.
It sounds like a mess.
Yes, I think we could say that. Absolutely. And it's not just this, because, China has warned the U.S. about this. It's also Russia, too. You have an oil tanker pursued by the U.S. appears to claim Russian protection. The Bella 1 evaded seizure by the Coast Guard for almost 2 weeks, and apparently is at least trying to get protected by Russia. So, it's looking all the more likely that the fuse may actually start burning right over there on the Western Hemisphere's waters. We'll see. China's Xi Jinping issues unstoppable Taiwan invasion threat as World War III fears soar. So he made some bombshell comments at his New Year's address. I don't know. He just looks like maybe there's too much makeup on. I'm even questioning. This almost looks like AIG. I think it's AIG Jinping. I don't know. How do we know in reality? But yeah, they did encircle the entirety of Taiwan. And yeah, they can blockade Taiwan. In fact, again, the Polish psychic has seen that Taiwan will go through a blockade by China. So he was picking up on that as well. He's very, very accurate, and he has actually worked with the authorities, the police over there in Poland, to help a lot of missing people cases.
Yeah, he does look pretty pale, like Weekend at Xi Jinping's are kind of pale type energy. He looks a little deadish.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if they're using chat to bring up a fake Xi Jinping or not. And I don't know, is there more than one Xi Jinping? Is there multiple clones, do you think, sweetie? Do you pick up anything?
There's like 3 at least.
She's picking up on like 3 at least clones / actors. So yeah, we got to watch that. We have the West African nation of Mali imposed a travel ban on U.S. citizens from entering their country. what you have is a lot of inroads. Literally, that the Chinese project again that has laid the infrastructure for the BRICS nations to pull in a lot of African nations into their circle and to work with them. So it's basically just sides being taken in the conflict that is developing.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
No, absolutely. I see a Rosebud Atkins sighting. Good to see you. Meanwhile, National Guard patrols New Orleans ahead of New Year's amid vehicle ramming threats. So here you have Chicago authorities warn NYE celebrations could attract foreign and domestic terrorists. I mean, we get these warnings every year. New Orleans, is especially increasing security. National Guard right out there, right out there. Again, this is kind of that transition period. You get used to seeing at big events at first the military on the street, then before you know it, it's just military's always on the street. This is that progression.
Yeah, and people get used to seeing it.
Yeah, which, again, none of us want to really see this. And I don't think, again, if you look at people from China, Russia, every single nation on the earth, most people just simply want to live a peaceful life. And, it's just, again, the craziness of the system that prevents us from having that. But you can definitely wrap yourself up in an energetic bubble as best as you can and put out positive frequency, and that will definitely help to keep you safe and sound. And again, work with that daily spiritual practice, meditative practice, body breath, breathing, and taking time to root and ground every day as much as you can to be able to cultivate the peace in a not so peaceful world at this point.
And that's the energy you can build up around you every day. It's not that's the only thing you do to prepare, but it's a very important thing, and I think people underestimate the power of energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you go. NASA could be weeks away from its biggest test in decades. They're talking again. They're using, again, Greek goddess names, Artemis, NASA's Artemis program, which was announced in 2017. By the way, that's when, it seemed like everything ramped up. To not only return astronauts to the moon, but eventually establish a permanent lunar base. It's finally on the verge of launching its first crewed flight. The landmark mission, dubbed Artemis II, is on track to lift off as soon as February. The highly anticipated endeavor will mark the first time astronauts have ventured beyond the bounds of near-Earth orbit since the final Apollo mission in 1972. That's 43 years ago. I mean, more, right? 53 years ago. 25. 53 years. If we really were to the moon, like they say we were, why in the world did we not go back? Unless we were, basically fudging it the whole time, or we are simply not allowed to go back by, some entities with higher technology.
It sounds like somebody had a better guard dog.
I mean, it's just insanity, and that should hit every person in the world as strange. I mean, here we are supposedly landing on the moon, and then we never go back. And it's 53 years later since that particular, the last Apollo mission, and we don't have bases on Mars. Mm-hmm. But of course, we do have a secret space program, and we do have all sorts of goodies, that are not officially acknowledged. It seems to me far stranger to believe the official version of things than the alternatives. Whether you're talking the fact that, we're not able to or that we're not allowed to. It's crazy to believe that we would just simply stop and not progress. That's mind-boggling. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. With all the technology that they tout, it's really, really strange.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So they're going to send a group of 4 astronauts on a trip around the moon. There they go. They got the right stuff, guys. There they go. All official. all in their space garb or scuba garb, Meanwhile, what's it going to do? It's just going to go and loop around the moon and come back. Make a loop around the moon and come back. I bet you there's dozens, if not hundreds of ships that go back and forth all the time, but we're just not privy to that knowledge. And, again, when you look to the moon, many people have said that when you look at the moon, you're really looking at a reflection of the actual landmass of Earth, which is a fascinating subject. We've gotten from the guides that all of our known world is actually in a hollow depression of sorts. And again, that the actual Earth is at least 4 times bigger than what we think it is.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot bigger than what we're being told. And I think a lot of things are going to be coming out of the woodwork starting this year. And thank you so much, Miss Elena. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Elena. Happy New Year. I know you've been with us forever as well. So, I mean, it just feels totally redonkulous, doesn't it? It's kind of crazy. But when you look to mainstream, people might think this is crazy. Your mind is a receiver. Mind as receiver, not creator. Now, again, I think you got to go and define what you're talking about. So psychologists are exploring a fascinating idea that challenges how we understand the human mind. Thoughts may not be something we actively produce. Instead, they may arise, arrive, or surface from deeper subconscious processes beyond conscious control. Rather than being authored moment by moment, thoughts appear automatically, often without warning or intention. Brain imaging studies show neural activity linked to a thought begins milliseconds before a person becomes aware of it. This suggests awareness comes after the thought has already formed, not before. Meditation research supports this too, showing how thoughts emerge spontaneously when the mind is quiet, then fade when attention shifts. This perspective changes how we relate to anxiety, creativity, and self-judgment. If thoughts are received rather than chosen, then observing them without attachment becomes easier. Mental clarity may not come from controlling the mind, but from listening to it with awareness. The mind may be less like a writer and more like a radio, tuning into signals already in motion. Yeah, they're not coming from our brain. The brain is the receiver. The brain's the receiver. And again, where resides our consciousness? It's not bound to the body.
Well, it is a fair question. If you're receiving thoughts, and this is true, who's giving you those thoughts? Who's out there?
This led to another little discussion we were having, and we're talking about the church and how the church, told people, if you're able to, don't converse with the dead. If you could, don't converse with the dead. Well, why wouldn't you converse with the dead? Because they might be evil spirits, and they might trick you. Well, maybe the church tricked us. And, being that these people are no longer, these spirits are no longer embodied, maybe they understand what happens when you die. Maybe they can even share with you what happened when they passed on, if they did, in fact, pass on and were previously embodied like we have, had that experience. So, the higher self is not limited to the physical body. Only a portion of our consciousness is in our bodies. In many ways, it's very much kind of like, we could use the analogy of playing a video game. And, you make a persona, you go into the game, you become that persona. And then when the game's over, you might play it again. Maybe you'll change your persona. Maybe you'll take a different tact. Maybe you want to use a different archetype to, become your next avatar, so to speak.
Well, it's also very interesting. When I do reach out to get information, I get it in different places. It might be upper right. It might be upper left. It might be to my side. It might be behind me. But I get the energy from different areas.
It is curious because, yeah, she'll get them from the left, she'll get them from different spots, and that's how she knows whether it's, the galactics or some of our other guides or family.
Or someone else's family, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the church just didn't want to lose their grip on power and control. How about this? Do you think when are we going to see this? When are we going to see, aliens walking amongst us? When? Will it be 2026? Do you think 2026 will be the year when it finally comes out and you actually get to see one walking down the street or introduced? I think I'd go with 2027 as being a likely year. 2027, maybe 2028. Nothing would surprise me. I think we're close, but I'm not sure if 2026 is the year. I think we still have like another year or two to go.
Yeah, I feel we're going to get a good idea of things, us and family members, and we're all going to kind of get warmed up to the idea, and then we'll start seeing them.
April 1st is New Year 2026. Hey, Stack, good to see you. Yeah, well, that's where that whole April Fool's thing comes from. Cindy was talking about that today.
I know. It's it's the April Fool's thing. I know.
Yeah, because what they did was they changed the calendar, and you're a fool if you don't go with the new calendar. So, yeah, April 1st, actually, and depending on which system we're looking at, March or April was generally thought of as being the beginning of the year, typically. Again, 2025, what is that really, really relevant to? We're saying goodbye to 2025 now. What's it really relevant to? Because, you had the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar. We've had so many changes. And there's even the thought again that they've either omitted 300 years or 1,000 years. I shouldn't say omitted. That they added that didn't really exist.
Mm-hmm. They've just tinkered with us all along.
Yeah, and ultimately, if time's an illusion, what does it matter in the first place, right?
Doesn't.
It doesn't. So right here, talking about what are we going to get from the new Steven Spielberg Disclosure Day trailer. Oh man, what's the movie going to bring us? What's the movie going to bring us? Ooh, it's again, I think I think the timing. Why did they never make a follow-up to the original Close Encounters? I mean, that's kind of mind-boggling. Why wait till now? I think it's because, we're at that time. And, they got to have us ready to accept it within a year or two.
I think they do too. A lot of people are getting there, and we have more and more things coming up where you can see the ships and you can see the beings, and, the veil is lifting.
In June 18th, 1979, Italian Air Force pilot Giancarlo Ciccioni, flying a G-91R back to Treviso Air Base, was ordered to intercept this unidentified craft, approached it with his plane at close range, and photographed it, after which it maneuvered away and disappeared from radar. Do you pick up any sort of energies with this as to whether this is man-made or not?
I don't. Well, I think some of our technology is used, but I think I feel a bunch of little grays in there.
Would not surprise me a bit. They are pretty common out there. Here you go. This is David Grush. We all got acquainted with him in the last several years. He said on Joe Rogan that there's a wild connection between Mormon theology and the alien phenomenon. Absolutely. What if the angels in ancient religions were actually the same non-human intelligences behind today's UFOs? Mind officially blown. Where's your mind been? Has your head been in the sand? How could your mind be blown? It just makes me, boggled how people couldn't have seen this connection. I mean, it's like I knew this at like 16 years old. It hit me like a hard brick, it was like, whoa, when I was 16 years old reading the Bible and the day of the Lord and all this and Ezekiel's wheels, and it was like, just holy crap, it's aliens, it's, interdimensional beings. It's ultra terrestrials. Again, there's interdimensional aspects to this. There's extraterrestrial because there's way more than just Earth. And there's also inner Earth and that component to it, as well as beings that live under the sea. It's all of the above. But when you look to the stories of like Joseph Smith, the visitation, I mean, it just echoes. These are always the same sort of stories. Always.
I know. I mean, look at the art on that. That's just beautiful.
Oh, okay. Robbie says Joni thinks that we're going to get disclosure this year. Well, again, we've technically had it, but when will we actually see them for ourselves? Like on the just go over to YouTube and see who's live streaming. Yeah. Landing on the White House lawn today. Maybe 2026. I do. If I had to roll a dice or if I had to lay a bet, I'd probably say 2027 would be my pick. But yeah, it could be coming sooner than later. It won't be that long. I really don't think it'd be that long. Look at this. This is an old Gothic hearse. This is in Dresden, Germany. Man, look at that. That is kind of creepy, isn't it? John and Jen, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, John and Jen. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just great to see everybody that's waking up and recognizing that our history doesn't add up. You look at this, not even the Great Flood was able to bring them down. Nurag is the main type of megalithic building found in Sardinia, Italy. There are more than 7,000. According to the experts, they were built between 1900 and 730 BC. That is, they don't know who made them. Sardinia is very interesting place. Lots of remnants of the workings of the giants. And some other, probably I would have to venture to say ET people. See, the thing that Cindy has seen when she looks at what was really happening, how did we get all this technology? They were here working with us. There were benevolent ones that were here on Earth working with us, guiding us, teaching us, helping us. It's after that dark Nibiruan invasion, and of course the reptilian aspect, after that darkness engulfed us, wiped out all the benevolent ETs or drove them away for the most part, and then took over, that's when we have the system that we've been living in that developed. Before that time, our interactions with ETs was mostly benevolent.
It's very, very cyclical, and we are just in that point right now where, we're not going to know. There's a different species that are in charge right now. So, but we're coming out of it. We're coming out of it, and that's the good news. So while I have a full house, I just want to remind everyone, please stay to the end because we are going to run some energy and just try to get the year started off right in a very positive note.
Technologically savvy asking about those cart ruts. Yeah, I mean, were they some sort of railroad tracks? Were they some sort of some other technology, in the islands of Malta and the Mediterranean? I would love to see Malta. That would be definitely a very cool place to go and just to feel in. When we get into an area like that, we just find spots that are interesting. We sit and we meditate. And we just soak in the vibes, just basically feel your foot chakras open up wide, grab onto the mother and her energy, open up the crown, deep inhale in, and see what impressions come to you. I love it. I just love being around these energies and soaking them in because, the stones will talk to you and the ghosts that are there will talk to you too.
They all have a story to tell.
They do. And often they can't wait to tell you. That's the thing. History is a well-orchestrated cover-up. I mean, look at these lines. This is a quarry. I think this is the one up in Utah or Yeah, I think it's in Utah. If not, it would be in Arizona. Come on. I mean, look at the cutting. These blocks are gigantic. Obviously, this is advanced technology. There are signs of global mining programs that go back millions of years here.
You know, it's something that I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for someone to step up and say, okay, we're going to tell you the truth about our history now, because we have asked and asked and asked for the truth. We've pointed things out. We've asked questions. We've said, how is this possible? And it's just crickets out there.
Lucid Farms, that sounds good to me too. No war and silver at $7,000 an ounce. Yeah, absolutely. It might get there. You never know. Mary Moore, we look forward to having that session at some time in the future. Again, if you guys are interested in having your Vedic chart done, energy work, biofield tuning, we do life coaching too. Everything from if you want help on developing a healthier way to live, diet, nutrition, everything. Again, probably 25%, maybe 50% of you here right now we've had sessions with. And again, that's just what we do and love to do. It's wonderful to really get to know you guys.
It is. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And it's beautiful, again, to see people recognizing this, because they can't keep this hidden for too long. I mean, look at this. This is just gorgeous. What did Atlantis look like? And I said this many times, and Cynthia said, look to some of the places like this. This is what Atlantis looked like. It's right in front of our eyes. But the only difference is you would also probably see some aliens walking around, some giants, and some beings flying by in very advanced-looking ships.
And you would see light beings. You would see the whole spectrum, because our problem that we have right now is just that itty-bitty tiny visible light spectrum. That's all we can see in. But as the ether changes, we get to see more and more and more.
Why do we need 50-foot doorways? Unless you're expecting some very tall guests to possibly drop in.
I know, that would be fun.
It is fun. I mean, this is the thing we want to get across. That now that we're coming out of this age, again, they're going to cause some havoc before. They're not going to go too quietly. But at the same time, when we get on the other side, life is way more magical than what we were brought up with. Way more fascinating, way more exciting, all sorts of potential compared to what we were brought up with. Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting stuff petrified around the world.
That guy reminds me of a snake on a cartoon. That snake that was on, oh my goodness, one of the cartoons. He just had a hat and, oh gosh, now I can't remember. I'm on the spot. On Robin Hood cartoon.
On Robin Hood cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this, I could see where people might think this was some sort of dinosaur, dragon perhaps, or is it a big reptilian or one of their pets? Quantum immortality. The multiverse theory suggests consciousness never ends. No, it just goes on forever, guys. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment stemming from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The theory posits that your consciousness shifts timelines every time a physical event occurs that would result in your death in one reality. In this framework, every possible outcome of a quantum event creates a separate branching universe. Therefore, there is always at least one timeline where you survive and your subjective experience of consciousness continuously flows and follows that path. The theory does not suggest that your body is physically invincible, but rather that the subjective viewpoint of you continues indefinitely in the branching multiverse. It essentially asks, if your consciousness can only perceive the universes where it continues to exist, can you truly ever experience death? this is a really interesting way to view things.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it's like when we go to sleep at night, I have the wildest experiences. Some of them are, I really do feel some of them are conjectures where my mind's playing out different things. It's trying to figure out, did I do good here? Could I have done better there? I wonder what would have happened if I did this or that. But some of it is just way bizarre, alternative universe type thing.
There is no not being here. You're always here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Have any of you guys ever had a near-death experience? Have you ever been really, really close to, leaving this particular vehicle? I was in a really bad car accident one time, and it was amazing that time slowed down. It was like I could see every little shard of glass just like breaking apart and slowly flying away. It was very, very surreal. It's just wild because time is, again, relative. And we've had friends that have literally been clinically dead, even interviewed a couple of them. So, again, consciousness it just is.
A lot of people have a very similar story. It's like they had a very good positive experience, and I had my own too. It was a very good positive experience, and I was still there. I was still there just as much as I was here now, but I was in a different place. It was interesting.
Lucid Farms, when you wake up from a dream, is that where you died in the other realm? I think it's like, again, what happens that's a good question, is like what happens to the us on that other realm. I had like last night really weird interactions with weird beings, and it was very, very active. And then, we wake up kind of suddenly because the dog's barking or what have you. And, all of a sudden you're out of that realm so quick. Did you just disappear from everybody that you were interacting with, or is a different aspect of yourself still there? You've just kind of shifted your attention.
I see it as like the brain neurons, and we go into another world and we shift and view different aspects of living life, and this is like we're in a dream world and asleep somewhere else now too.
So, okay, John and Jen, yeah, I did when I was 15, had internal bleeding in the ER, hospital, time stopped, very strange stuff indeed, couldn't feel anything. Diana had a car accident experience like that too, hit the windshield with head, car totaled, T-boned. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me too. Car was totaled and was totally T-boned too. And yeah, the time just, it changed so much. And again, I think that's what happens when we have people like passing over slowly, like we just lost one of our friends, and it was a long process. And you'll notice that it's just so common to see people that we think are dead in this reality, and they're waiting for you. They're talking to you on the other side, or the person that's getting close to passing over is now resonating where they could see them as much as they could see us that are gathered around.
Right. Yet they're all still here like we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we are the immortals. How about this guy? He looks like he's got a grasp of this, does he not? He's like ready to take off. He's like, hey, I like the color green. Like me, a John Deere. What a beautiful, beautiful scenery. This does remind me of, could be like around the Asheville area, or it could be up in Vermont. Beautiful. How about this little guy? Like we were talking about baby goats. There's nothing cuter than a baby goat.
I want to.
I'm all for it. Why haven't we gotten any yet?
Because they'll eat the roses and everything else.
We'll figure something out.
You won't let me right now.
They are so adorable. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We wish you all the happiest new year. I do believe we'll be on R. Wayne Steiger's tomorrow. We'll have to see if everybody could have made it or not. But I'll make a post to let you guys know, but we're anticipating tomorrow on our Wayne Steiger channel at 12 CST.
So a huge thank you to KK, Veldon, Israel, Susan D, Beth, Elena, John and Jen. And let's take a moment to find that happy thought in our head. And I really want us to start off this year really, really well. So let's make that the intention, that we have a safe new year and everything that's going to happen. Our loved ones are safe. We are safe. The United States is safe. And everything is going to continue to get better. People are just going to have a better life. So let's put that in our mind and in our energy field. And we're going to do some dings to push that energy out there. So on the way out, I'm going to be doing some patterning. You won't hear it, but you'll probably feel it. So we're going to be doing this for a little while too. And then Mike is going to take us out here in just a few minutes. Be sure you drink lots of water after the session, after making your intentions. That is so important. Put it in writing, burn a candle, do something special to just kind of capture this moment for you and your loved ones, and anything you need. Anyone who needs prayers, please put them out there. And I want to update on people, Steve and Lori. Lori's getting a little bit better, so thank you for those prayers. Thank you so much. Source bless and namaste.
Much love, everybody. As always, Loka Samasta, Suki no Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, actions, words, and deeds contribute to that happiness and freedom. May you have a happy and free and satisfying 2026, guys. We love you. Namaste.